All right, so we should be recording. Happy February. This month flew by, as they all seem to do, despite things being very different. So welcome. I'm still here, and I say that because I'm usually very present on Instagram. That's usually where I'm very engaged and involved, but I have just been radio silent since like the end of last year. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for being here with me, whether you're live or in the replay. This has become something I get to hold on to and feel like I'm still doing calligraphy. It's just been survival mode the past couple of weeks and months with a lot, but I mentioned this last training, and I can officially share with you now that I did get a new job at work. It's just a hopping over from one side of our division to the other, but with that means less stress and less overtime. So I'm hoping to finally come back and be more present with all of you. Um, so the good thing I wanted to mention, and I'm trying to tie this into your own practice and where you're at with your work. The great thing about calligraphy is it's always there. So I want you to know that even if you can't be consistent, it's okay, because as long as you are persistent, I love my mottos and my quotes. So it's okay if you have months or days or weeks off, just like myself. But the spirit is still there. Your pens will still be there. Calligraphy is not going away. You have to take care of yourself first. So whatever that looks like for you, that's my little just PSA to make sure to take care. Okay, so I'm going to spotlight my video and jump over to what we're doing today. I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about flourish capitals. So I think in our short time together, I'm just going to take a few concepts and just demo them for you, show you what's going through my mind as I'm flourishing a capital letter, what you can look out for, and some practice tips. So hopefully that sounds good to everyone. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question or throw it in the chat. I will be peeking and looking up. Okay. So I think we talked about an introduction. Oh, no, I think we did capitals last time, right? And we talked about how some capitals lend themselves easily to the next letter. Like, look at this R. It was easy enough to just reach up and hit the E, right? But when we're flourishing, then we start breaking some of those rules, but still keeping within our copperplate spirit and trying to keep things readable. We're going to be conscious of what we do with those endings. So like a standard L could easily connect to this A, but because I flourished it down below, I broke that connection, and then I just put the A, I placed it close enough to where you could still read this as one word, one name, but of course you're not going to connect it anymore from that point. Okay, same thing with this H here. A standard H could have ended at the baseline and then had an exit stroke up here, and then continue on, but I broke that flourish that I extended. Remember, flourishes are extensions of our strokes, and then I left the entrance stroke off the E. It didn't seem necessary, and you don't want to clutter up that area. Okay, so I don't really have an order to this, so I'm just going to jump right in. If you have a letter you're interested in, please throw it in the chat, or just let me know. Okay. I just want to kind of give you an idea here. Some fun things to do also is see this N. So normally we would just end the letter up above with a slight curve, but here I really brought it up and over. And I even did a fun crossing of this T, because you don't want to force those connections, but it's really fun when you have an opportunity to do so. So don't feel bad if you can't, if it doesn't work out. I think I've had to let go over the years of, learning how to write like this. You can't force it, but if it's an opportunity, then awesome. Okay. So let's see. Hi, everyone. Hi, Christy. Welcome. No worries. I'm glad you're here. Okay, Elaine gave us our first request, letter E. Let's see what I did in my example here. I just saw it. Okay, so Ethan, that's my nephew. Lots going on here with this E, okay? But let's dive into it, okay? I'll keep it there for reference. You can see what our goal is. So our letter E, and I have a pencil here and my John Neal bookseller notepad in case you're interested. So normally, let's see, we would have our E. Oops, that's a little too small. So we would have our E, and you have to forgive me. I truly, you guys, I'm so rusty. I've not touched a pen, I think, since our last monthly training. It's been that survival mode over here. Okay, so just a review of the letter E, right? We have kind of these two ovals stacked on each other. But what we're going to do to flourish it is what I did here is I extended this part with an oval, okay, a somewhat horizontal oval. And, you know, I sometimes have different variations of this. What I mean is sometimes I cross through these strokes down here. Sometimes I keep it up high like this, okay. But in this example, it looks like I brought my that stroke down below, and I added a little spiral. Okay, so I spiraled inside. So see where the oval is out here? And let me bring it even closer. I know it can be hard to see, and I'm going to refocus you. Okay. There we go. So this oval here, you can kind of tell that I use that as my guide where to put this inside oval. I don't just place it anywhere. I want it to be strategic. You know, I want to keep it nice and readable. And then I'm going to bring that loop around. And then let's see, this is tricky because I don't want to have too much of a hot spot, but I sort of have to cross over that horizontal oval I made. And then I brought this E down, this stroke here. And then this stroke here, instead of ending on the inside, I did not put a shade because I wanted to keep it very light, but I went through down below and over. Okay, so a lot going on with this E. Let's try to break it down a little bit more. Okay, so what you'll see here, let me make that straight too for you. Okay, so I have some tips for you. So if you can keep in mind the core of the letter, right? Really what I added was this flourish, this horizontal oval, okay? I added an oval here, and that oval is resting on my, my slant line, okay? Because you want it to match the larger oval that is here. And then really it's all about keeping those ovals. See, you can kind of see a larger oval here. And then this is a horizontal oval here. And it takes some time to feel like for that to be natural. But I assure you, if you just do this exercise of first drawing the letter and then trying to find the ovals and then do it again, try to imagine, okay, here's my horizontal oval. Now I know that I'm imagining this larger oval here, right? That's going to be the top of my E. So as I create the smaller one, I'm imagining where that would be, and then I'm coming around. Then I know I have to turn into the larger oval, and then you can even end it there if that's enough for you. And then I would add a shade, or you can do that flourish down below where I came down below and then I curved around. Okay. And you can even end, yeah, you can end inside or you can keep going through. That was just kind of naturally, my hand wanted to keep going and just end there. And I keep this all at a hairline. I don't add any shade. I just think it's already so busy. I'm pointing to this E here. It's already so busy that I don't want to add too much of a shade. Yeah, Linda and Elaine, it is a lot. And that's why flourishing, especially capitals, it's not something to just jump into and think you can just add random squiggles everywhere. That's totally me when I first started flourishing, and then I would wonder, why does it look weird, or why doesn't it, how come it doesn't look together and neat? So, we started with a very complicated one. Okay. So don't worry. It doesn't all have to be this complicated. You could even start your E. So you know how we do our E like this? You can even just practice by, picking one flourish to add. So maybe keep the top simple and then practice flourishing the bottom of the E like this. Okay, so that would be one idea. And then you could go to your lowercase copperplate and then write the rest of the name. I wouldn't even flourish the rest of the name, just to keep your focus on, one thing at a time. I find if you get overwhelmed fast, it's a turnoff and it's discouraging. So if your focus is flourishing the capitals, start small and just only flourish capitals. That's my suggestion. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. There are certainly other ways to flourish the E. And what's really great is once you start picking up on some of these, you can apply them to each other. So what I mean is, see what I did here with this E? I also did that here in the C. See this horizontal entrance? And it's all of a hairline, and then I made a small spiral, and then I made the C. So you can start to build your toolbox of flourishes and then apply them to other letters where they fit. See this G? So let's do those two, since you can kind of see. So the letter C normally, and I apologize, this notepad tends to turn my screen blue because of all the little lines. I don't know how to avoid that. I think if I maybe put a white sheet underneath, let's see if that helps. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so our letter C, I'm going to draw an oval here just as like a guide, okay? Maybe it's a little too wide. Okay, so our letter C, right, we normally have our horizontal entrance. We come up above and then we make our C and then we turn in, just like the bottom of the E. So if we're going to add a flourish, we can, and I'm going to bring this out a little further. This is why pencil is great. We can just use what we've created and make some adjustments. I'm going to come out a little further. That way I can turn up, let's see, turn up, and then I'm going to spiral in and then reach back up. And now here's my regular track of my letter C. And then here, I did something really wild. Yeah. So then instead of curling in, now I'm going to come up and I curved down here. I think I tried to be super fancy. But I want you to see that you can break it down. You can see where the core of the letter is, and then you can see where the flourishes were added, right? So we have your horizontal oval. You've seen this with the E. Now you can also replace this flourish with what we did with the E. So let me, a good eraser, I don't have it on me. It's actually in my office because I used it for work, but I love the Pentel Click erasers, especially because they're small enough to get, smaller areas. But I've been loving this one lately. I pulled this out from my toolbox. It's like a Tombow, I got it from a long time ago, but it erases really well. And because of this dust catching, I don't know, I want to say technology, not that it's really technology, but it doesn't have so much of the dust like those eraser shavings. It might come up into one big ball, but at least that's more manageable than all these little specks, right? So that's, those are the two erasers I've been going back and forth between. Of course. Okay, so I wanted to show you that E that we did, you can also do that one. So I can come down below and come around. And you know, some key things to remember when we're flourishing. Let me write some notes down just because it helps. If it helps me, I feel like it'll help you. Remember ovals, okay, especially in the copper plate script. Ovals, and keep them big and open, okay? You don't want them tight and curly. You want them nice and spacious, okay? And with that, remember when we're flourishing, keep in mind your intersections. Make sure you are crossing at pretty much, you know, trying to cross at 90 degrees, okay? Because if they're too narrow or too wide, it throws off the flourish and it's not so balanced. Okay, I think those are the notes for now. I'm gonna put, okay. So what other letters can we do? Let's do the G since I want to show you how you can build onto this. So we've kind of gotten a handle on this spiral. Okay, so let's do the letter G. So we also have a horizontal oval for the G. I'm going to create that spiral and then I'm going to go into my G here. And then I'm going to come from the side and do a capital stem. Do you remember the capital stem? It comes from the right, then it goes onto the slant line, and then instead of finishing here, this is what a capital G where that would end. We're going to go a little further past the baseline, and then kind of like your lowercase g, right? And then what did I do here? I'm cheating. I'm peeking at what I did, and then I just brought that around and looped in. Okay, so let me erase this part because we wouldn't have that part. So then I'm going to have my here. And let me show you something. See how I crossed down here? That's not bad. I mean, it's okay, right? But I would have liked if I could have crossed somewhere in the middle of this intersection and this space and how long this space is, somewhere closer to here. So keep an eye on that spot, okay? I'm gonna erase what I created and let's see if I can cross closer to that area. So what I can do is I can bring this out further and more of a horizontal oval and bring that in. See how I crossed a little higher? So totally not required. I just wanted to show you how you can troubleshoot something that maybe you felt like it would, it would look better, or you want to just try different areas of intersecting your lines. And then for that name, I did the name Gary. So this is tricky because I used up a lot of the space where my lowercase letters are going to go. So I'm going to bring this a little lower because what that will do is I can put my A here. And even though it's inside, at least I can, what am I trying to say? Oh, it's been a while, everyone, that my brain is just, I'm trying to get the wheels turning. I want to be careful of where my letters are intersecting. See that? That's why it's so important to keep this ending at a hairline, because once I add my other letters, you almost want to make sure that that's not too distracting. Okay. Christy, hi Christy, how are you? Letter J. Okay, what did I do for the letter J? I did these letters in a funny order. Okay, I either am totally missing it or I didn't do a J. So weird. Oh, there it is. Okay, Jared. See that? So we have our core letter J, but I flourished the ending and I used that counter space. Remember, counter space is the empty open space below our word. See how A, R, E, D, these all sit on my baseline? So I had all of this space to have fun and extend that ending. And then here I just curled that stroke in, which is what you want to do normally anyway. So I didn't do too much flourishing up above there. Okay, so let's do a J. So our normal J, our unflourished J, would be a really long capital stem here and ending here. And then we would turn this in Actually, we would end there, right? But for our flourished J, we're going to add more of a curl inward. And I am purposely trying to keep this stroke inside the counter space. So imagine this counter space here. See how the space from this stroke to here is pretty even? Because look what happens if I don't do that. If that comes too far to the right, it just doesn't look right. See how it's not balanced? And if I don't reach over far enough and I flourish over here, see, I have my stem. See how that just looks so uneven? So I wouldn't want to leave it there. So I'm going to make sure that after as I'm coming through, keep the middle of that counter space in mind. So I'm going to bring this through and there. And I'm going to end with a airplane motion, like pull off of the page. Try not to have this too blunt. Okay, whoops. Then for this ending, instead of my standard ending, I brought that. And you know what? I'm sorry. I don't know if this is way too high. There's a lot of space in between this J, but we'll just leave it. It's okay. So I brought this over. And then my hand just felt like, you know what? I'm just going to turn this in and curl down below and up. And I'm going to actually add a little bit more. So this does, to me, I don't think this is the neatest flourish. This is probably as wild as you're going to see me get because I tend to keep things a little neater and more, you know, a little bit not so random looking. But I feel like this works because I'm still maintaining an oval here that is on my slant line. And when I say on my slant line, just as a reminder that the axis of that oval is on my slant line, I purposely dipped down because I wanted to create this horizontal oval, and that axis is parallel to my baseline. Okay, so it still works. I feel like, you know, you see this, you can actually find this larger oval here. See how these two are within the larger oval, and that's on the slant line. If you haven't been dreaming about ovals by now, you totally will tonight. And then I have all this space, this lovely space for the name. So, man, it feels good to write, everyone. I have just missed writing, and I missed writing with you all. Christy, regular J is challenging. Oh, yes. You know what's challenging about the J, I think, is this long stroke here, because this capital stem is so long. So especially if you're using a larger pen, like, oh my gosh, if you're using a Tombow, you are crossing over like how many units. But if you have a smaller space, it's not as hard. I think some of the keys to keep in mind, you want this area here to be a medium size oval. You want to be careful that it's not too large like this, and you don't want it too narrow. Okay, and then by the time, if for just a standard J, by the time you cross over this baseline, this bottom part is your regular J. You know how you do your descending stem loop and an exit stroke. So I hope that helps. And you know, pretty soon, once I finally have more time, everyone, we're going to really incorporate. We're going to incorporate feedback lessons where you send me in your work. Christy, I'm gonna have to pull up that email that you sent me months ago, and we're just gonna do it here in a live session because it's too hard for me to do it separately. But I think when I'm accountable to a date and time with you all, I'm more likely to knock it out. Elaine, yes, I will share this PDF with you all. Okay, so I'll make sure to include that in my email out to you, my follow-up. Do I have a page of the sample flourishes? You know, I don't have a page of the sample flourishes, but that is a great thought. I almost want to make like a flourishing toolbox. Let's see, flourish toolbox. I don't know. Let me know, Linda, if this is what you're talking about. Like I would have a sheet that, you know, just shows these different, you know, something like this. You could use this for your letters C, E, and your G. You could you know, one of my favorite flourishes on the descender is to come out like this and just loop in, but this could be applied to so many letters. So it's kind of like sample flourishes and then examples on where you would see them, you know, something like that. Cool. I will work on that. Okay, what else? What other letters do we want to do? We could probably squeeze at least one, maybe two. Lavina, hi. H. Ooh, let's do H. Okay, so H is really fun. There are so many ways to flourish the H. Literally, I did a simple entrance here. But you could do, you know, you could also do, I don't have, oh, I do have tracing paper, but it's kind of used up right now. Let's see if I could find an empty spot. You could also, what am I trying to do? Uh-oh, that's not looking. Wow, I've never felt so rusty before. So if I'm coming up below and turning this in here, you could also flourish this area. You could do like a double loop into, there we go. Oh my gosh, my hand is not finding the right motions. Okay, you can do a double loop into this H. Okay, see what that looks like here. There we go. I'm trying to use that base of the H, but bring this over. See how I did that double loop into this compound curve? Okay, so let's just focus here. I'm going to bring myself back. Let's do this one here. So our regular H just has a compound curve entrance, and then we have our capital stem here. But here I'm going to add that horizontal entrance. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. And is that a little blurry? Let's see if I can focus. Okay. All right, so I have my horizontal oval, and I just end, I end really, I don't know the word. It's like opposite of blunt. You don't want to end and just stop like that. You actually want to end like with that airplane motion. So I'm going to end and I take off, and see how it just makes that ending a little less blunt. Okay, and then I'm going to do my capital stem here. And then I'm going to turn that. Usually we would end here with a terminal dot, but instead I'm going to turn that and use that stroke to cross my H here. And then I'm going to reach up, and then I want this space to match this space. So let's see how I can do that. I'm going to turn in and try to keep them somewhat even. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect, but the goal is that you don't want this side to be super big or super narrow, and it throws this off. You want those to sort of be mirror images of each other. So then I'm going to curve here. Okay. Oh, that's a little too big. Let's see. And you know, if you have a pencil, great, you can keep erasing, but if it's close enough, don't sweat it. I don't want you to aim for perfection. That's been my biggest, personally too, you know, it's not perfection, it's just progress and just trying to, you know, make it better next time. So then here we would normally end at the baseline and exit here, right? But the name I used, Heather, has all this counter space again, which makes it really nice because then I can extend that exit of the H and use this space. So what I did here is I brought this lower, and then I turned to the right and I imagined a horizontal oval, and then I just crossed over and I exited with that airplane motion so that it's not such a blunt ending. And then I kept off the entrance to the E because it just isn't necessary. But imagine where it would have been, okay? It would have been here. So then I'm going to place that E in a way that your eye sort of fills in the connection almost. You know that this is going to be one word. So then that way it's not too far and it's not too close. It's just like a good rule of thumb for where to place that, that E. Okay, not too close, not too far. And then I wanted to show you this R. It's not really, I don't really call it a flourish, but I just, because I had so much space and I wanted to balance this stroke that I went down below, I just went a little lower here and I curled up. Okay. I kept it really simple. I didn't try to over flourish that R, but that's what that ending is. Okay. Now, for those of you who want to take it a step further, extra credit, let's find some fun areas to flourish. So see this TH, this is one of my favorite connections. So this is a great opportunity to take that loop from your H and either cross the T, so I can bring this up and over and cross the T, and you can end there, or you can even bring that up and over. So see how I did that? Let me erase this. This is from the J earlier, kind of distracting. Or you can do another way to do that if that's, you know, if you want to try this one out. So here I have my T here, have my H here. You can bring this stroke, actually, what this is how I normally do it. Pretend I don't have the rest of my words yet, my letters. I will have an extended crossbar here, and this takes some aiming, but then I'm going to loop over, and then here's my H. Okay, so I'm gonna, actually you do need this this exit, then you do it, and then you catch the exit. See how that connects, and then finish the word, the name. I keep calling them words, but you get it. So that's how I would do the H. Sorry, I extended into like a lesson for the whole word. Let's see other ways you could flourish this bottom while we're here. Do you want to take one more letter? Anyone have another request? Let's see if I can extend. You know, it's just because of the way this comes down, and you have to go, I feel you have to go to the right. You wouldn't bring this to the left and flourish. You know, you wouldn't do anything on this side. It just would take away from the letter H. So that kind of limits us to going to the right. We could do, let's see, maybe, I don't know. Oh, I guess you could bring that low. That's another flourish in my personal toolbox I always kind of go to. And you guys, that's okay. You want to be confident in your flourishing. So if you are doing the same ones over and over, do it, because it's better that you're confident in a few flourishes versus trying to do so many and they all look a little not so confident, right? So don't feel bad. I used to feel like I got to make all my names, you know, say I was making name tags or addressing names, addressing envelopes. I would always tell myself, oh, I got to mix it up. You know, I'm doing the same flourish over and over, but here's the secret. Everyone who's getting their name is getting just their name. They're not really, you know, maybe they'll see what you did for the person on their right, but most likely they just care about their name. So just, that's my little 2 cents on, you know, giving you confidence in flourishing. Okay, can I do, Ellen, we did the E earlier. I will show you here. So yeah, that one was a tricky one to start with. So definitely go back in the replay to watch that one. And I also suggested keeping it simple. You don't have to add that first part if maybe ending is easier. Okay, B and Z. Okay, we'll end with those two. I'll try to do them a little quickly. And then having a hard time finishing, how to start and finish. You know, that's a good point. You know, how do you know where is it, like where to start or what you're doing? So it takes a little bit of, here, let me talk about the process for a second. You know, first of all, you have to really nail down the core. When I say the core, I'm talking about like your unflourished standard letter, because you know, if you don't have the core down, you're dealing with how do I create this letter and trying to flourish, and that's a little too much. Okay, so then after you get the core down, which is okay, you know, if that's where you're at, honor where you're at. And then from there, I would start simple. Okay, so maybe what you need to do is pick just one flourish to try, right? And just practice that. I think it's just starting simple. And then you have to do your analysis. Okay, I don't want to scare anyone, but really what I'm talking about is what we did here. See how I was creating ovals, I was erasing a lot and troubleshooting. So that sort of process, and I can go into that more detail in another training, how to really break down and study. And this is where the feedback will come in handy, because I can take some of your work and show you how I would study it and then improve it. Okay, so before we go, let me do the letter B and Z. So letter B, I did something here, which look at the P, B, and R. Okay, now it's coming back to me. I did this on purpose. I was grouping them in capitals that are very similar to each other. So the P, B, and R all have this capital stem, and then they have this upward, this top bowl, this top loop. So that's why those letters are really great to practice with each other. So let's take the letter B. So a standard B without any flourishes would be a capital stem, and then we end with our terminal dot here, and then you would have a vertical oval and come up and over for that top bowl or top loop, and then you're going to come loop around, and then that bottom. This I always struggle with making sure it's not too flat. There we go. So, and then a bottom bowl and end here. So that would be our standard B. But what I did for the example, so I have two ways to do this. If you are comfortable, start really high, and you have to start with an airplane motion. So from up above and then go, touch down, because you don't want it to be too blunt, and then turn, and then that turns into your B here. So this one's tricky for me because I have trouble where to start that stroke. So here's what I do instead. So remember that the core B is right here, right? We normally start within, and that to me is a little easier. Maybe it's because I practice it so much. What I do is after this, I come back and then I trace this a little, and then I reach over, and then I create that flourish. See how I don't know, it's coming back into this motion and tracing and creating that flourish that way. That's easier for me. Another thing you can do too, after you've made that flourish, you can bring this out, and you can actually make it a little larger, and you can tuck the ending in there. Okay, so that's really fun. And at that point, I have it at a hairline, and if you want to add a shade, I would add a slight shade. Just be careful, you don't want it too dark. And then here, I brought this up and over, so instead of a terminal dot, I brought this up and over, and then I came out to the right with a horizontal oval. This was really a loaded flourish letter. And for the B, I kept it simple at that point. I just left it like that, and then I did my name. Oh, it was the word bat. I think I couldn't come up with anything else. Okay, let's keep that T simple. Let me do it again for you, because I realize I do this stroke here all in one go. I don't want you to think I do that in two parts. So just let me just show you what that looks like. So here's my capital stem. I touch down, I reach up, vertical oval, and then horizontal oval. So the reason why that's important is because here I want to be careful where I'm crossing that B. See here? And even that to me is a little cluttered, but it's okay. We'll troubleshoot it. See how these are just two, look at this angle that this creates. This is really wide. See that? And then this is a really narrow angle. How can we adjust that? Let's see, maybe I need to make this a little bigger. So that way this stroke on the inside can cross it at a better intersection. See that? See how I opened up a little bit more, okay? And in case you're wondering, I know I would be wondering, why is she using a pencil this whole time? We have not touched a brush pen. This is because I'm showing you the the practice stage and the building of the building those skills. So let's put ink to the page. Okay, so and then I'm going to have my so see how I ended here? Then I'm going to trace it again and go a little bit higher and wider. And then maybe I might touch up this stroke here. Okay. All right. Okay, so that's just like my thought process for the bee that you saw in my example. There's definitely other ways also to flourish the bee. I think 2 trainings ago, I mentioned a flourishing resource that you want to check out. Do I have it handy? Oh, I don't. Let's see. It was from Irene. Here we go. I finally got a little organized behind the scenes with all of my printouts. So this has been really helpful. From Irene. I don't know her personally, but I've connected with her on Instagram, and she has all these different options. Okay, which is really fun. Some of them I'm like, wow, I would never have thought of flourishing that way. So that would be really cool. It's free. You just have to sign up for to receive it. Okay, last but not least, let's do our letter Z. Oh boy, Z is definitely one of those that I kind of cringe. Okay, so for the Z, I did this. So very similar to the process for the letter B, I start off, making my Z kind of the regular Z, and then I go back and add some of the flourishes. This is actually rather simple now that I look at it. And it's for this version. I know there's a different version of the Z, but let's just do this one, okay? So normally my Z would be, I have my spiral inside, I come out, actually let's make it a little larger. Okay, so this is my regular unflourished Z, that core that I mentioned. But what I would do is I would try to keep this at a hairline when I first create it, because then I'm going to trace and come back around and flourish that. Okay, it's really just adding like a layer of like another oval, because what that will do is, like a subtle way. It's almost like a shadow, like a little double oval. But again, keeping this counter space here, even with this counter space, that's a key thing. So see how I purposely tucked that in the middle of this larger oval here. And that just gives it a nice, easy breathing room. Okay. And then I did my standard flourish that you've seen in other letters, where I just bring this up and over, and instead of going up, I go through and I create a horizontal oval. So see, you can tell that the horizontal oval is one of my go-to flourishes. So once you find ones that are comfortable for you, feel free to use them over and over. Because what happens is it all builds from there. You can start keeping your eyes open, and you, like, this is literally how I go through my learning. So I get really comfortable with a flourish, and then I see someone, on Instagram or on the internet, or maybe a card in the store, and I see them do something different, and I go, oh, that's not too much different than something I already do, and I get comfortable experimenting. Okay, but you have to start with a few flourishes that are comfortable for you. Okay, and then from there, I feel like today I was all, all of these soapbox speeches. I hope that you weren't tired of them because I just feel like it's been so long that, I have so much that to say and so many things that I want to catch up with you on. And then I just kept that simple, just like that. Okay, so again, I left off the entrance stroke. You could add it. It wouldn't be terrible, but I just didn't think it was necessary because these were already so close together. Okay, I definitely add it once in a while. Don't think I never add it. I just feel like, you know, you just make that call for yourself. But the key is, if you are going to add an entrance stroke, don't touch the capital that you just created. Okay, the most you can do, and I keep rambling, but the most you can do is you can come up from below and create like a very extended entrance stroke, because it would be more like you're crossing through. So see how they're not really connected. I'm just crossing through this flourish. But again, I don't know if that's necessary. I would just keep it simple. All right, so that is our lesson for today, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me remove my spotlight. And we will check everyone out on our gallery. How's everyone doing? Who, you know, show of hands or in the chat, did you practice with me? Does anyone want to share? That's the great thing about Zoom, right? We could feel like we're in a training together. Hi, Katrina. Hi, Kara. Oh, hi, Christy. Let's see. This is so lame of me. I'm like, how's Instagram? I haven't even logged in like in the past couple of weeks. I have my personal account, which I still, you know, check in once in a while, but I hope everyone's doing well. Is anyone taking classes? Like any, I know like Kestrel's still keeping up with her classes. I know Nina's still doing her boot camps and her weekly Wednesday mornings if you haven't checked her out yet. Great practice. You're welcome. Thank you so much, everyone. You know, always keep learning, but I think my message today, it's more for myself, is just to not be discouraged if you ever fall off the bandwagon. Yeah, it's been quite of a ride. So, all right, I think I will send you all off. Have a great weekend, rest of your weekend. Take care wherever you are. I know a lot of us are from all over, you know, the country and the world, but stay safe, and I will catch you. I'll send an email out. I'm sending you the PDF of this example, and I'll just link Irene's freebie again. I think that's super helpful. Okay, bye everyone.